and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. This is our last New Comic Book Day in this location.
Oh, somehow it did not actually hit me till you said it, but
it's weird to when you get to the point of actually processing it like that.
Yeah.
It's been 6 years that we've been here.
Mm-hmm.
What have we been doing the videos for? 2.5?
It feels like longer.
It does. It feels like a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we started, it was you, me, Corey, and Sarah.
I think it was you, me, Corey, then Sarah joined, then Corey left.
Joined, and then Sarah left, then Corey left.
I mean, we can't get Jesse to wake up early enough to come in for these, so.
Yeah. So it's been a heck of a ride, and next week it may or may not happen. It depends on how well the move goes. So if there's no video next week, it's because we're moving.
It'll be a busy week. What can we say?
Yeah, exactly. But we will have new comic books available to pick up next week.
Mm-hmm.
Rain, snow, sleet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Check the forecast after this.
Velociraptors would probably be the only thing that would stop us, and that's a good segue into your book this week.
I don't know if good, but it is a segment. So my pick this week is Assorted Crisis Events issue 2. I had the first issue on here. I've had pretty much everything Dennis Camp has put out the last couple years on here. But yeah, so this continues the series. So I mentioned before with issue 1. So the whole premise is like time and space is broken. Everything, like, people either getting like stuck in time, things are being transported through time, people are stuck in like time loops, all kinds of weird shenanigans. But it's also like an anthology series, so like each issue is going to be like visiting like different people or groups of people dealing with this kind of stuff. And so like the first issue, this lady kind of dealing with the fact that like, oh, her like street gets used for like filming a bunch of the stuff because like there's always like weird sci-fi stuff happening, so she's like, oh, this saves us like budget having to like shoot here. Like
sure.
So like dealing with some stuff like that, but then also just like how society like takes these like horrifying events and just kind of like goes like, well, you can just like deal with it, right? We don't have to like change or like fix anything to like accommodate the situation. You just get a little note on your phone being like, oh, hey, things are happening down the street, don't go there, so you don't get like temporally distorted,
right?
But yeah, and this issue we follow this man Jesus kind of like through his life. The way the issue does it is very interesting in that like it's kind of like little snapshots of like different points, like childhood, adulthood, relationship with his parents, relationship with his kid, like his work, his religious status, his work status, like, and it'll like it uses this framing device of like the way it's kind of be easier just to kind of show you like the way it's like structured paneling is like it'll have these little like kind of fade ins, and then like it'll fade out, but like in a way that's like kind of like mirroring the fade in, and then kind of like leads it like it does this really good job via like how it like does the paneling to like show like how these moments in his life kind of like bleed together, which is a good way for me to put it, because like a lot of what he deals in here was like is this like reoccurring theme of like blood, like whether it be like literal physical blood or like blood of like family members, like what ties us together, stuff like that. And one of the cool things with this is, so like obviously like there's still like it's dealing with kind of like the messed up time stuff, but at the same time you can also read it as just like this man kind of like having this like dissociative moment, like just dealing with like how like messed up his life has been at various points, like the highs and lows. And through all that, it also very much takes a look at just like how, kind of similar to issue 1, like how society will like take a person who's like brought into this world all like bright-eyed and mushy-tailed, like ready to like just like have like live their life, experience things, and then just kind of like grinds them into like
puts them into the meat grinder.
Like it, and it's so weird how a book can be simultaneously like very thought-provoking, very horror. Like there's a couple of scenes that are just like, oh, that is terrifying, but then also like there's a couple of points where it's like, oh, that was like funny, but like in a like very dark. Like there's a bit there where it's just like, oh god, but also like they're like you almost have to laugh at like how absurd it is for the moment, just because it's just like, and like the way that like because again, like it's not like told like in order with like him flashing through his life, like so just like the way that some like moment at one point gets recontextualized at a different point, like you realize like, oh, this is why they said this thing, or like this is why like he views this thing this way is very interesting.
I wonder if Dennis Camp is having some sort of crisis or nostalgia, because that's a theme this week in books that Dennis Camp worked on.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we'll get there. Don't worry, but but yeah, no, and on a similar note, again, like Zawadzki, like again, this is the first book I've ever like seen them on, and again, they're killing. Like I mentioned, the panel layout, just like the expression work is very crucial in some of these scenes, because there's a couple pages where it's actually just like entirely in Spanish, and even if like you don't know Spanish, like I can like pick out like a random word here or there, but like the way he's able to like communicate through the visual storytelling, again, like it's something that you kind of just expect a lot of artists to be able to do, no problem. But I mean, we've all seen plenty of comics where we're just like, I'm not really sure what they're trying to convey in this moment.
Right. Yep.
And no problem with that here. Like very clear storytelling on all fronts. No, like it's a camp book. I usually can't sing enough praises, and this continues that trend.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of a book with an artist that we aren't familiar with but really liked.
Yeah, so I went with Predator versus Spider-Man #1. This is a bit of a departure for me because I don't often pick up like the crossover-y kind of books. But Ben Percy, local favorite of ours, been to the store twice, just saying. And
Wait, twice?
Twice, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, and Marvel has really done it. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago. Who would have guessed that the property that Disney acquired, that they've probably been the most consistent with and had the best success with, would be Predator and Alien, that whole wing, you know, they've done really well with it, and it seems like that's out of their wheelhouse. But the comics have been good too, not just the movies and so forth.
I mean, we've had like the different Predator comics on here before.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought this would be kind of fun, just to see, okay, well, exactly how does this happen? And Percy did a really good job with it. So I didn't read the previous, what was the...
So first he did Wolverine versus Predator, which is kind of like the most obvious one you would do.
I flipped through that one.
Yeah, and like that one was interesting just because like with Wolverine's lifespan, like it's kind of like these like various encounters through the years between the two of them. Which is super cool.
That's a clever idea.
Yeah, and then I did a Black Panther one, which is then like, oh yeah, what happens when the Predators have to deal with this like super advanced like human society that has all this stuff that like they're maybe not necessarily like prepared for.
Right, yeah.
And then this, and again, like it's each one is kind of like doing a little different twist, and this one
very
different twist.
So I know that there are people out there who love Predator 2, the Danny Glover movie.
Yeah.
It's
not your cup of tea?
It's not my jam. I don't think that it aged well at all, for one thing, but it's not my jam. I get what they were going for. You know, sometimes you swing and you miss. That one was just a miss for me. But this has a setup similar to it. It's really hot in the city. It starts with people, you know, a investigator coming to a crime scene where there's a group of people who have been skinned and strung up. And, you know, so it's got that kind of vibe that Predator 2 has. And so the whole, I don't know how much to get into this, but so, you know, I mean, Spider-Man has a history with being hunted. That's not where this is starting. He's not being hunted, but you know that eventually he's going to be, because he's investigating what's happening. And he's thinking, of course, there's a serial killer out on the loose. And in this world, he comes across the crime scene, he gets pictures and a story, and goes to J. Jonah Jameson, and that's kind of where we're at with this right now. It was fun. The art was really cool, and I'm Marcelo Ferreira.
Like, I know I've seen the name before, but like, yeah, I'm not like super familiar with their work, but I really liked it.
It fits really well with the current Amazing Spider-Man series. It's got that kind of vibe, but yeah, Spider-Man in particular is drawn really well.
Also, who's ever on coloring for this, like, really, like, the warm palette they use really does help get across, like, the fact that, like, oh yeah, the city's like boiling right now.
It feels hot. And both the way that they wrote it, you can kind of see where it's like, you know, Ben Percy would have been like, and then I want this detective chewing on an ice cube here, you know? Like,
he does love his, like, kind of, like, slightly weird, like, detective type characters.
Yeah. So it was fun. And this Predator in particular seems to be more of a less of a hunter and more of kind of a serial killer.
Yeah, there's a certain, because like obviously like with the Predators there's a certain level of like monstrosity, because I mean they're hunting and killing people for sport.
Yeah.
But like there's like it's still through the lens of like, oh, like they're still like kind of like a person here. Like they're like there's like a certain level, like, whereas this is just like, oh, this is just like sociopathy. Like this is like, this is wanting to like inflict harm for like a very specific kind of reason.
Well, yes, and to notch up the level of fear in the prey before you kill them.
Yeah.
To like this one goes to 11 kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it was really fun. And again, it's a mini series. You don't have to be reading mainline continuity to enjoy this book. You don't have to have read any of the other Predator books or Predator versus books. You can just pick up this title and enjoy it. It felt really fun. There were some clever little twists in there too that I thought were good.
I liked the bit because I only had a chance to look through it this morning. I like the idea of like Peter being a bit more like investigative, a bit more like proactive, and trying to like, oh hey, there's something weird going on. I should really like look into this.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of thought like, what if Ben Percy did Amazing Spider-Man?
Well, hey, we're probably due for another reboot in 2 years. So.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I'll throw my vote in for Percy getting a shot at it. He did a good job rebooting Ghost Rider and stuff. So, it felt like a continuation of like, I don't know, late 80s kind of Peter Parker kind of era, which I thought was a pretty good time as far as letting him mature, but also having the weight of Spider-Man and the alter ego being more than he could be ultimately successful in his personal life. And to me, that's the interesting dynamic of that character.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when it came to the consensus pick, we couldn't narrow it down to just one. So we went with 2 books.
Yeah. So we've got Absolute Wonder Woman. I believe we're on issue 7 now.
Yeah.
And then Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 2. And yeah, no surprise, considering how much we've enjoyed both these series so far. Yeah, it was hard to pick between them.
Yeah, and so we alluded to Camp doing kind of the flashback thing in assorted crisis events. Also happening here with John Jones. And this is an interesting dynamic. Instead of a Martian who comes through a telescope to take the place of somebody else, this is not your grandpa's Martian Manhunt.
Yeah, this is very much more, it's this kind of entity, and it even kind of like explains to John, like, Martian is not maybe like the best translation. It's just like the word I found that like mostly approximates like what I'm into, and just in terms of like being this like outside thing from like far away. Yeah,
there's a running theme of if I explained, not quite the right word, but that kind of fits with what we're doing. If I explained to you what was actually happening, your brain would explode.
Yeah, like we're not there yet. We're a relationship, we're working on it. Like
it's this weird. It kind of reminds me of the bad guy in the Howard the Duck movie.
I guess I can see it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so like this issue, it's very much like the two of them like trying to like figure each other out, and John just not having a good time of it. But at the same time, like the Martian is constantly warning him, like, hey, a thing's about to happen. John's just like, man, I get what I'm going to yell at a baby for a moment here.
Yeah.
Like, and then like getting a call like, oh, hey, a thing's happening. It's just like, oh, the voice in my head was right. That's something to probably be concerned about.
Right. Yeah, and I think by the end of the issue, we're starting to get some buy-in that there is something real happening. This is not just delusions.
Yeah.
But if you put yourself in his shoes, I would think I was going crazy. I wouldn't be believing the voice in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, like, the way you see, like, how, like, their relationship kind of, like, is developing in the way... Because one of the interesting things with John is, like, he is a very, like, emotionally, like, closed off person. Like, we see that with, like, his family in the first issue. We see that with, like, his coworkers and just, like, the way he interacts with people. Like, he's not open. Like, this is very much like, I'm just in my lane. I don't really, like, talk to people. Mm-hmm. And part of the experience with The Martian is, like, it's forcing him to, like, experience, like, these deeply intimate moments of, like, everyone around him.
Yeah.
Whether it be just, like, people on the street or people that have just, like, suffered, like, a, like, grievous, like, attack. Like, he's having to, like, experience life in a way that he just never has before.
And on top of that, in order to manipulate his emotional state, the Martian, we'll just say Mindhunter, is bringing up memories.
Yeah.
So digging through his memory catalog and flashing them up in front of him to kind of like, be calm. Remember Mom's cinnamon rolls.
It almost kind of made me think of there's the bit from Always Sunny in Philadelphia where, like, Dennis and Mac are talking, and Mac is like, you remember feelings, right? Yeah. She's like, no, sure, I remember feelings.
Or Happy Gilmore, go to your happy place. So it's been very interesting. Again, the art just fits so well because there's this kind of smoke motif.
Yeah. Like Rodriguez just does such a great job of, like, blending, like, reality and like the mind space so well. All
right, well, since we got a second one, we should probably move on to that quickly here.
So Absolute Wonder Woman, concluding this little two-part arc that one kind of gets into, like, some of that, like, how she got out of hell in the first place and how she's going to get out of hell now, because Hades just like, you weren't supposed to get out of here, man. Like, what's that about? And the way they do it between, like, we get a bunch of flashbacks to, like, an earlier meeting with a god, like, this story that Diana heard growing up that kind of, like, impacts, like, how she's like, oh, this is how I deal with the problem. Yeah. Like, the way it all is paid off is very well done. Like, I love the way that they're able to, like, because, I mean, like, in a series that has a lot to do with, like, Greek mythology and that, being able to, like, be like, oh, here's literally just, like, plucking this, like, important part of this very, like, prominent story and being like, this is how you solve this problem.
I thought that was a really cool solution.
It, like, and again, like, the way that it's able to, like, tie these, like, different points in her timeline together and be like, oh, you see, like, how we come to the point is really well done. Yeah,
and just how far back Circe and Diana have been kind of laying the groundwork for this, and how they have built alliances along the way in order to facilitate that. It's been really good. And, you know, when I picked up last issue and started reading, I was like, oh, man, I missed the art and I missed the story arc that we were in kind of, you know, I mean, we had tied off one end of it, but it was obviously building towards something else. Like, I don't know that I really want to do kind of an interlude thing here. But they ended up being really good. I very much enjoyed it.
There's a lot of threads that they're setting up with different characters that'll be interesting to see going forward. Both, like, ones that are definitely on Diana's side, and then others who are just like, oh, you've made more of an enemy here than you might want to, like, deal with later. Yeah. But, yeah, and again, like, oh, gotta double check the artist's name here, but there's stuff, Atea de Lu, oh no, that's an I. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, if I'm being honest. But they just, maybe. Yeah. But they were the artists on The Call that Thompson did like a year or so ago. Yep. And
that's why. Oh, man. You probably said that last month too, and I just wasn't connecting those two.
But it's very different from Sherman's stuff on the main issues. But, like, in a way that, like, it's still very, like, I love, like, almost, especially in the previous issue, the way that they depict, like, Hades' like, kind of, like, palace's throne room, like, this very, like, cool, cold tone, like very much suits their style.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love their art here. The way they design some of the new like characters we get to meet is very cool.
Yeah, and like the emotional stuff was done so well. You know, just even people welling up with tears and then actually crying, like it looks so cool.
Or like people being frustrated, or people like having these realizations, just like, that's the solution. Like it, like really, really strong. Like it does a lot when a book can have like very different art styles, but like they complement each other in the way of just like they're clearly doing their own thing. Yeah,
very cool. All right, so 4 up here on the table, and we couldn't decide on the, you know, between the two for the consensus pick, but there were also a number of other books that were very close. What else did you have on your list this week?
So many other good books. Issue 3 of Lilith finally came out, so that was very fun.
Man, I was asleep on that for issue number 1, and you had it on order. And the number of people who have been asking for that book, we just keep ratcheting up the number that we're bringing in.
Yeah, no, that like was definitely worth the wait. Just like a fun, like honestly, probably the strongest issue of the series today. Like a good combination of like action, humor, maybe some potential romance, some horror. But yeah, no, very strong. I think the penultimate issue of Metamorpho continues to be absolutely hilarious, but also like has some like very interesting like kind of like deep cut pulls. Which I mean, if you're familiar with Ewing's work in Marvel, it's not like a super surprising thing.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that book, I'm going to be super sad to see it go, but it's been a fun ride while it's been here.
Yeah.
I know one that you and I were both talking about was the new issue of G.I. Joe.
It was so good. I was questioning my choice even as we were talking about Spider-Man versus Predator, because we get to see Duke and Cobra Commander have a full-on confrontation, and then there's a big reveal at the end.
A couple big reveals.
Yeah. Oh, yes, a couple big reveals. It was really cool. It was a good issue. So, and I think this is now setting up the story for kind of more the long term. So Cobra and the Joes have had their confrontation. They know each other exists, but they also both know that there's another group out there that they really have to be focused on. So I think for a while we're going to see them kind of bump into each other. But as far as full-on confrontation, I think it's going to be both groups focusing on the other the other group. So
and it's interesting because we even get like Cobra Commander does like the whole bit of like, we're not so different, you and I, which is a very like cliche thing you see in a bunch of stuff, and oftentimes like doesn't really, but like it kind of does work here. Like they do have a lot of parallels, but like the commander really makes a point of being like, but well, you just kind of like walked back to your masters, like I made my own like destiny, which is like a really interesting way to kind of like play with their dynamic, I feel like.
I don't know if I should admit this or not. I recently went back and rewatched the G.I. Joe movie because...
Oh, like the original animated one?
Yeah, because they're drawing
a lot
quite a
from
bit
the
from
like
that.
Cobra Law and that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it wasn't as bad as I remembered it.
It's got a great opening theme. Catchy, how about that?
Yeah.
Catchy is probably more
accurate. You know, it's not as good as the Transformers opening theme.
Oh, no, I mean specifically like the movie version.
Yeah.
With like those Statue of Liberty sequences.
Yeah, Oh, yeah, the animation was good. The song...
Again, catchy. Maybe not like good catchy, but catchy.
Yeah. What else? Oh, Amazing Spider-Man was solid. This new arc is definitely going in a better direction. So in the last issue, Peter got dosed and went on a rampage destroying Kias. It was interesting. The G.I. Joe Silent issue featuring Roadblock was fun. I like Roadblock. It's interesting because I think one of the reasons that he became such a popular character was because the voice actor in the cartoon was so good with him. But a lot of good stuff. We've got some leftover variant covers and so forth from Superman Day, reprint of Action #1. So all kinds of good stuff. Yeah. All right. So we got a big week ahead of us.
Yes.
So we've got new comic books today. This weekend will be our last weekend in this location. Sunday, we are planning on up and moving all of our inventory out of this space and into the new space. And then hopefully Monday, Tuesday, we're able to get that all situated and settled, and either Tuesday or Wednesday be open for business. So if you are one of those people who is interested in helping us move, we are taking volunteers showing up this Sunday, April 27th at 2 p.m. So we're going to try to pseudo operate our retail space and provide the game room to our regular D&D group. But we'll start selecting certain items to start coming out of the store.
Yeah.
Probably the heavy, like the comic books and that kind of stuff. We'll probably start with the dollar books and start moving stuff over. So the hope is that we can be done moving everything out of here by 7 o'clock ish, and have everything over at the other store and done in a way that it'll be easy enough for us to start filling shelves over there. All right, and then the following weekend we have Free Comic Book Day.
Yep, May 3rd.
May 3rd. So it's always the first Saturday in May. May 3rd, we have got a ton of comic books, but this event is huge, and we always get a lot of people, and we are always out of books by sometime in the afternoon. Certain titles will be out by sometime in the afternoon, even though we try upping the quantity every year. The number of people that we get showing up every year seems to go up, in relation to that. So we'll have all kinds of fun stuff that Saturday. And then you can come see the new space in hopefully a pretty well put together stage at that point. I know that there's a lot of stuff that'll kind of continue to happen over the next few months as we settle into the space and figure it out. But we're really excited about it. There's still a lot of work to do in the next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 4 days is all that I've got left to get that space ready to start receiving stuff. So
so don't expect to see him here much for the next week.
Yeah, I will not be around much. I'll be over there. So if you want to see me, come tap on the glass. But yeah,
just stare at him while he works.
Yeah, people do. It's been a fun process, but it's been grueling. Of course, like with anything, a lot of unexpected left turns have occurred, and it's really slowed the whole thing down. So it's not going to be quite the way that I envisioned it from the get-go, but we'll get there. So, all right, well, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, and stop on into your local comic shop and pick up some actual physical copies of books, because that's what we love. Yeah. And we will be back next week from our new location. We got to figure out exactly how and where we're going to set up this whole thing. I've got some thoughts on that.
Yeah, that'll be a then problem.
Yes, for sure. That's a next week problem. Yeah. Until then, we've got plenty on our plates to worry about. So join us again next week. Until then, enjoy the reading.
Balloons!